You've spent hours crafting the perfect message. You've studied their profile, found common interests, and carefully constructed a response that's witty, engaging, and designed to impress. You hit send and wait. Minutes pass, hours pass, days pass. Nothing. In that moment, you feel confused, rejected, powerless. But here's the devastating truth nobody tells you. You weren't seducing them. You were trying to convince them. You were seeking their approval, not creating their desire. And in the art of seduction, trying is the fastest path to failure. Today, we're going to explore the uncompromising principles of strategic seduction, why most people fail at it, and how to transform from someone who seeks approval into someone who creates irresistible attraction. The modern world has corrupted our understanding of seduction. We've been conditioned to believe that seduction is about being attractive enough, charming enough, or impressive enough to earn someone's attention. Dating apps reward profile optimization. Social media encourages showcasing your best life. We've been taught that if you're interesting enough, successful enough, or attractive enough, people will want you. But this is a trap. True seduction isn't about convincing someone to choose you. It's about becoming someone they can't help but be drawn to. It's not about seeking their approval. It's about creating their desire. And in our age of constant validation seeking and approval hunting, the person who operates differently becomes magnetic. Consider this scenario. Person A spends hours crafting messages, always responds immediately, shares everything about themselves, and makes their interest obvious. Person B maintains mystery, responds thoughtfully rather than immediately, reveals themselves selectively, and creates curiosity through what they don't say. Who do you think creates more desire? Who seems more valuable? Who commands more attention? The person who tries to impress or the person who becomes impressive? Niccolo Machiavelli understood this dynamic when he wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are." In our modern context, this means people are drawn to mystery, to what they can't fully see, to what requires discovery. When you reveal everything immediately, you eliminate curiosity. When you maintain strategic opacity, you create desire. The first law of strategic seduction is what I call calculated detachment, the deliberate practice of not needing the outcome. This isn't indifference or disinterest, it's strategic positioning. When you need someone's approval, when you're invested in their response, when you're trying to convince them to choose you, you become predictable, desperate, and ultimately unattractive. The strategically intelligent individual understands that true seduction begins with detachment. They don't need the other person to validate them. They don't require immediate responses. They don't make their interest obvious because they understand that obvious interest is the enemy of desire. Think about the last time you felt truly drawn to someone. Was it the person who made their interest obvious, who responded immediately to every message, who tried to impress you at every turn? Or was it the person who seemed complete without you, who maintained their own life and priorities, who created curiosity through what they didn't reveal? Machiavelli captured this perfectly. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. In the context of seduction, this means it's better to create intrigue and respect than to seek approval and validation. The person who needs approval is weak, regardless of their attractiveness or resources. The person who operates from a place of self-sufficiency is powerful because they cannot be manipulated through the promise of validation. In the digital age, this principle becomes even more critical. Every immediate response, every obvious interest, every attempt to impress creates a pattern that others learn to exploit. The person who responds to every message within minutes is training others that their attention is always available. The person who shares everything about themselves is eliminating mystery. The person who makes their interest obvious is becoming the person everyone takes for granted. Meanwhile, the strategically detached individual remains magnetic precisely because they're not trying. They don't respond immediately to every message. They don't reveal everything about themselves. They don't make their interest obvious. This isn't playing games. It's strategic positioning. The second principle of strategic seduction is selective opacity, the uncompromising practice of maintaining mystery through what you don't reveal. This requires understanding that information is currency, and in a world of oversharing, selective disclosure creates value. Most people reveal everything immediately because they believe transparency creates connection. They share their life story on the first date, their deepest fears in the first conversation, their complete availability in the first message. But this is backwards. True connection comes from discovery, not disclosure. Desire is created through what remains unknown, not through what's immediately revealed. Consider two people in a social setting. Person A shares everything about themselves: their job, their hobbies, their past relationships, their goals, their fears. Person B reveals themselves selectively, maintains some mystery, and creates curiosity through what they don't say. Who do you think creates more intrigue? Who seems more interesting? Who commands more attention? The person who reveals everything, or the person who maintains strategic opacity? Machiavelli understood this when he observed, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." The fool reveals everything immediately, seeking connection through disclosure, and eliminates mystery. The wise person maintains strategic opacity, creates curiosity through selective revelation, and becomes magnetic precisely because they're not an open book. In professional settings, this means not oversharing in meetings, not making your complete availability obvious, and not revealing your entire strategy at once. In social settings, this means maintaining some mystery, not explaining yourself completely, and creating curiosity through what you don't say. The person who overshares becomes background noise. The person who maintains strategic opacity becomes the focus of attention. The third law of strategic seduction is value creation, the practice of becoming someone worth being drawn to rather than trying to convince others that you're worth choosing. This requires answering a simple but profound question: am I becoming more valuable, or am I just trying to appear valuable? Most people focus on appearing attractive, successful, or interesting. They curate their social media, optimize their dating profiles, and craft messages designed to impress. But appearing valuable is not the same as being valuable. True seduction comes from genuine value creation, becoming someone who is interesting, accomplished, and magnetic not because they're trying to be, but because they've invested in themselves. The strategically intelligent individual understands that seduction is an inside job. They focus on becoming exceptional rather than appearing exceptional. They invest in their skills, their knowledge, their presence, and their character. They become someone worth being drawn to, not someone trying to convince others to be drawn to them. This isn't about becoming perfect or impressive. It's about becoming authentic and valuable. When you focus on value creation, you naturally become more interesting, more accomplished, and more magnetic. You don't need to convince others of your worth. Your worth becomes self-evident. In negotiations, this means being the person who brings real value to the table, not just the person who talks about value. In relationships, this means being the person who is genuinely interesting and accomplished, not just the person who appears interesting and accomplished. In leadership, this means being the person who creates results, not just the person who talks about results. The person who focuses on value creation becomes magnetic because they're not trying to be. They're simply becoming someone worth being drawn to. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, because it belongs to everybody to see you, to few to come in touch with you." In our modern context, this means people will judge you by what you've actually accomplished, by who you've actually become, by the value you've actually created, not by how you present yourself or how you try to impress. When you focus on appearing valuable, you reveal that you're trying. When you focus on becoming valuable, you project authenticity. The fourth principle of strategic seduction is scarcity of attention, the deliberate practice of making your time and engagement valuable precisely because they're not freely available. This requires understanding that in a world where everyone is constantly available, constantly responding, and constantly seeking attention, the person who maintains boundaries and creates scarcity becomes revolutionary. Most people make themselves immediately available because they believe availability creates connection. They respond to every message instantly, make time for everyone, and never say no to invitations. But this is backwards. True value comes from scarcity, not availability. When you're always available, you're teaching others that your time has no value. When you create scarcity, you're teaching them that your attention is a privilege. Consider two professionals in the same industry. Professional A is always available, responds immediately to every message, and makes time for everyone. Professional B is selective about their availability, responds thoughtfully rather than immediately, and maintains boundaries around their time. Who do you think commands more respect? Whose attention is valued more? Who seems more successful? The person who's always available, or the person who creates strategic scarcity? The strategically intelligent individual understands that scarcity creates desire. They're willing to maintain boundaries, to say no strategically, to create space between requests and responses even when it's uncomfortable in the short term, because they understand that long-term attraction comes from strategic scarcity, not constant availability. This isn't about becoming unavailable or unresponsive. It's about becoming intentional. It's about recognizing that your time, attention, and engagement are valuable precisely because they're not given freely to everyone about everything. When you create scarcity around your availability, you gain the power to choose where you invest your energy. You become unpredictable to those who would take you for granted, and you become unstoppable in pursuit of your objectives. The ultimate goal of strategic seduction isn't to manipulate others or to become someone you're not. It's to master the art of becoming magnetic through self-mastery. It's to reach a state where you don't need to convince others to be drawn to you because you've become someone they can't help but be drawn to. This doesn't mean becoming cold or calculating. It means developing what I call strategic authenticity, the ability to be genuine while maintaining the principles that create attraction. When you operate from a place of self-sufficiency, you don't need others to validate you. When you maintain strategic opacity, you create curiosity and desire. When you focus on value creation, you become someone worth being drawn to. When you create scarcity around your attention, you make your engagement valuable. The unmovable force understands that true seduction isn't about convincing others. It's about becoming magnetic. It's the ability to create desire through who you've become, not through what you're trying to be. It's the ability to maintain your boundaries while others compromise theirs for temporary approval. It's the ability to operate from a place of self-sufficiency while others seek validation. In our hyper-connected, approval-seeking world, this kind of strategic seduction is revolutionary. While others are trying to impress, constantly available, and desperately seeking validation, you operate from a place of self-mastery and magnetic authenticity. The principles I've shared today aren't about manipulating others or playing games. They're about mastering the art of seduction in a world designed to make you seek approval. They're about trading the temporary satisfaction of being chosen for the lasting power of becoming magnetic. In the digital age where everyone is trying to impress, constantly available, and desperately seeking validation, the person who operates differently becomes irresistible. The person who doesn't need approval, who maintains mystery, who focuses on value creation, who creates scarcity around their attention, this person stands out like a beacon in a sea of approval seekers. The choice is yours. Continue trying to convince others to choose you, constantly seeking validation, and forever at the mercy of those whose approval you need. Or develop the strategic intelligence to become magnetic, to create desire through self-mastery, and to transform from someone who seeks approval into someone who creates irresistible attraction. As Machiavelli understood centuries ago, and as our approval-seeking age has made more relevant than ever, true seduction lies not in convincing others to choose you, but in becoming someone they can't help but be drawn to. The less you try, the more magnetic you become. The less you need approval, the more desire you create. The less available you are, the more valuable your attention becomes. The path to strategic seduction is uncompromising because it requires you to resist every instinct our validation-seeking culture has programmed into you. But for those disciplined enough to master themselves rather than trying to impress others, it offers something invaluable: the ability to create desire, to become magnetic, and to transform from someone who seeks approval into someone who commands attraction.